Hey everybody! I'm here today to show you and tell you how to make paint dry faster. I'll be going over the easiest ways to accomplish this. Let's get right into the video. If you are painting a room and you want it to dry quickly because you want to keep moving, you can do one of these 5 things, or better yet, multiple of these 5 things. I recently painted this bathroom and I was able to allow the paint to dry really quickly because I utilized multiple of these things together. Let's get right into the video. Number 1 is to apply lighter and thinner coats, okay? Now, I know that when you're painting, you want to apply a nice thick coat to make it look thick and full. But the reality is that your only super thick coat should be the final one that you put on, okay? If you want your paint to dry fast, because you can do your first coat really thin, and then even your second coat really thin, and then your third coat, if you're doing 3 full coats, you can go thicker because it can take as long as it wants to dry because you're done painting. So if you want it to dry faster, okay, make sure that you're doing thinner coats and lighter coats other than your last coat, then you can go thick, okay? Now, if you don't care about your drying time, then I always recommend that your first coat be a little bit thicker and then you thin out after that. But if you care about your drying time and you want to move fast, thinner is better at the beginning with your first coat or your first few coats. Anything other than your last coat, basically. Number 2 is paint one full wall at a time and then move on to the next one. Now, a lot of people, myself included, will go ahead and we'll do the trim first. And by the trim, I mean we'll cut the edges, the corners and stuff like that. We'll do all the cutting first. Then we'll go with the roller. And the only problem with that is that, you know, it really limits your ability to keep moving because things are still wet when you're done with the roller, okay? Because you can roll so quickly. So if you want to paint fast, here's what I recommend. You take this wall, for instance. It's hard to actually see the contrast of the walls, but there's a corner here just because it's a very small room, and also at the same time, it's a very light paint color. So essentially, I would paint this whole wall first, okay? I would go and I would cut with my paintbrush around the perimeter, and then I would roll on here along the main part. Then I would move on to the next wall, then the next wall, then the next wall. And by the time that I finished here, there's a good chance that this paint is dry, or at least dry enough to add on a second coat, or it will be dry enough very soon to add on an additional coat, okay? So by doing one wall at a time, you're giving the previous walls time to dry while you do the next one. You're tackling a wall at a time. It allows you to keep moving at a faster rate, okay? So it just allows you to keep your momentum, essentially. And yeah, it really just allows you to keep moving with regards to your paint drying time, okay? Yeah, so that's it. It kind of allows the paint to dry faster. Technically, you're putting more paint on a single wall before you move on to the next one. So technically that previous wall, the paint will still dry at the same speed, but you're getting more paint to dry at that time because that whole wall is painted. I'm kind of running around here, but you kind of get the idea for the most part, okay? It works, trust me, it works. Okay, because I used it and it worked wonders. Number 3 is open your windows. Now this one goes without being said. Number 1, for ventilation, you should have windows open, but number 2, it allows the air to move around. It will draw out the humidity as long as it's not a super humid day, and I'll get to that in a moment. But having your windows open will really allow the circulation to dry the paint. Moving air will dry paint. One easy way to accomplish that is to just open up the windows and utilize nature's wind. Make it work in your favor, okay? Now, if it's a super humid day, don't do that. There are other options, and I'll get to that in a moment. But if it's not really humid, open up the windows, allow the air to move. Now, in this bathroom, when I painted it, there aren't any windows in this bathroom. It's just a small powder room on the main floor, okay? So what I did was I left the door open, and I opened up all of the other windows on the main floor, and that air ventilation just allowed the paint to dry so fast. It was really quick. And it's a small room, okay? So, I don't know, it dried really quickly, okay? Number 4 is to use fans. Now, using fans is preferable to opening a window if it's a humid day, okay? But if it's not a humid day, what I do recommend is utilizing both. You want to open up a window and utilize a fan that has that sort of swinging, oscillating, there's the word, that oscillating motion. That will move the air around, Okay, and having the window open will ventilate it, so it's better for the air quality around the painted room and in the painted room and so forth, okay? So if you can only use one, a fan or a window, it's better than nothing, but I recommend using them both together. That will really speed up the drying time. I plugged in a fan in here as well, an oscillating fan, and it just dried like no tomorrow. It was so fast. Lastly, number 5, this is probably super important if you depending on the type of house that you have. Number 5 is choose the least humid day to paint, okay? Now, here's the thing. If your windows are all closed in your house, okay, and you're just relying on your HVAC system to move the air around in your house, then it doesn't really matter, because the humidity in your house is going to be the humidity in your house, and it will not really depend on the humidity outside, right? Like, for instance, when I'm filming this today, I'm posting it much later, but when I'm filming this today, it's super humid outside, but it's not humid in the house because the windows are closed and the air conditioner is on. The air conditioner is drawing out the humidity, drying it out and stuff like that. But if your windows are open, or if you have a door open, or if you rely on your windows being open for air circulation, then you want to choose the least humid day. I will tell you, I painted a room one time at my old house many, many years ago, and I opened up the window and it was a really humid day, and I didn't know how much it would impede the drying process, but I painted the room and it stayed wet for a very, very long time. I want to say it was hours. I mean, it's been many years now, but I want to say it was wet for hours because of the humidity from outside coming inside, okay? So if you can reduce the humidity of your home, or choose the least humid day, that will work out in your favor to decrease your paint drying time. I do advise against using a dehumidifier though, because a dehumidifier is drawing the humidity out of the air, but it's drawing the humidity out of the air in just a single spot. And if you put a dehumidifier in a room like this, let's say when the paint is drying, it might cause the paint to not dry properly, okay? You could get maybe some cracks in the paint when it's drying. It all depends, because it could be drawing out too much humidity from it, right? So like I said, don't use a dehumidifier. I recommend that you do not use a dehumidifier, but you want to choose the least humid day to paint. That's essentially it, okay? But I recommend against, do not use a dehumidifier. That's what I would say. That's it. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.